Before we proceed with the lecture, we have a special presentation from the Bureau of Treasury, or BTR for short. The BTR launched Philly, a financial literacy web application which aims to streamline the financial planning journey of retail investors. The said application was developed by the BTR's Risk Analytics and Strategy Team, or RAS. Philly allows users to determine their risk appetite, recommend a portfolio given their risk appetite, and simulate the possible returns of their chosen portfolio. The session aims to introduce the users to the basic functionalities of the Philly web page. To further discuss this application, let us all welcome Mr. Armin Paul Aliado, the Division Chief of Risk Management Division of the Bureau of Treasury. Welcome, Paul.
So, hi everyone, good afternoon. So, on behalf of the Bureau of the Treasury, we'll be giving a very brief presentation on the newly launched Philly app, which we launched on April 1. Okay.
You may share your screen now, Paul.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll be giving a briefer on the newly launched Philly web page, which you can access at phillyapp.treasury.gov.ph. So Philly web application, or Philly, is a financial literacy web application specifically tailored for Filipino retail investors to streamline the process of starting, planning, and managing one's personal financial journey through the use of investment tools presented in the app. So specifically, the app has 5 functionalities. First is what we call the risk tolerance calculator. So in the risk tolerance calculator, the user will be answering a certain survey question, such as your age, your investment horizon, your financial needs. And based on these answers, there's an algorithm that will tell the user the appropriate risk tolerance scoring to help the user understand his or her risk appetite. Then for the second application, we have what we call the cash flow tracker, where the user will put in his starting cash balance, his or her emergency fund, as well as his or her sources of incomes and expenses every month. And then the cash flow tracker will be projecting the cash balance of the user, the cash inflows on a monthly basis, as well as the investable fund that the user can invest in, to perhaps to invest in certain securities such as bonds or equities. Then for the third functionality, we have what we call the portfolio recommender. So based on the investable fund that you have, and based on the risk tolerance score that the web page provided to the user, it will give a suggested optimal portfolio allocation. Like for example, given that your risk tolerance score, for example, is, let's say, for moderate, the application will provide you with an allocation that tailors your risk appetite. So that's for portfolio recommender. Then for the portfolio simulator, this is specifically tailored for users who are interested to know the risk of certain investment. So for example, let's say I have a 100,000 fund, and let's say 40%, let's say I invest in a certain stock, and then let's say 30% I invested in a certain bond, and then the remaining 30% I invested in a certain mutual fund. The portfolio simulator will provide a picture of the historical return and risk of the said amount of portfolio allocation. So the aim of the portfolio simulator is to give a user some picture of the historical risk of certain investment. Then finally, we have the investor education part of the webpage app that provides resource materials on personal finance, such as, for example, the importance of budgeting, the importance of saving, of diversification, and on some other financial products, such as the retail treasury bond offered by the Bureau of the Treasury. Okay, so having given some brief description of the main functionalities of the app, we will just briefly present how the web page looks like. So when you click the web page, so the first thing that you will see would be the terms and conditions. So this is just to where the user will check in, for example, if he or she agrees, for example, to have some information taken on the survey. But to note that the survey that the user will answer shouldn't take long. So this is just 7 questions. Okay, so once the user agreed to the terms and conditions, so it will take you to the web page app. So this is the main page. So you see here, for example, it gives some introduction of the FILI, and then it gives you the 5 functionalities, which you can follow in steps. So for step 1, for example, we try to answer the risk tolerance calculator, whose aim is for the user to know his or her risk appetite. So for the risk tolerance calculator, it will ask you 7 questions. So it will ask you your current age, say less than 45. Then when do you expect to start drawing income? So let's say immediately you need income in the near future. Then your overall goal for investing, for example, to grow my investment significantly. Then assuming normal conditions, what would you expect from the investment over time? So for example, if my expectation is that I just want to trail the stock market, but at the same time, I want to make some nice profit. And then, so for 5th question, so suppose that the stock market performs unusually poor over the next decade. So for example, there's a stock market crash. What do you expect from this investment? Is it to lose money, to make very little or nothing? So for example, my goal is, my expectation is to make a modest gain, even in market crashes. And then for the 6th question, what best would describe your attitude about the next 3 years' performance of this investment? So for example, you say that I can tolerate loss, but only a small amount. And then finally, so for the 7th question, which would best describe your attitude about the next 3 months' performance? So to note that 3 years' performance in the 6th question is more of a long-term investment goal or expectation. But for the 7th question, this pertains to more short-term investment expectation. So let's say that your expectation is that if I suffered a loss of greater than 10%, I'd get concerned. So after having given these responses, the webpage app will give you some idea of your risk tolerance. So for example, it turned out that your risk tolerance score is 21, and then it will give you your risk profile. Say you are a moderate risk taker. So the web page will provide some information on the typical profile of a person who has a moderate risk appetite, but not only that, as well as the appropriate or suitable investments for someone who has a moderate risk tolerance. Okay, so that's for the risk tolerance calculator. And then for the cash flow tracker, so this is the second functionality of the app, the webpage app. So you will be asked to answer like, what's your starting cash balance? So for example, no, my starting cash balance at the start of the year is, let's say, 10,000. And then I want to keep, so cash reserve is the same as your emergency fund. So for example, on a monthly basis, you would want to keep a cash reserve or an emergency fund of at least 3,000. Okay, and then afterwards, the user can specify his or her sources of income. So for example, you can specify that your income can come from maybe a part-time salary by taking maybe a part-time job as a tutor where you're earning, for example, 5,000 a month. And then you can specify which months you are expecting to receive this cash flow. Okay, and then the user can add another row. So for example, let's say for expense, so there are a variety of choices. No, for example, let's say for food, you're projecting, for example, that your food expense monthly is, let's say, 2,000. And then, for example, if you're projecting it all months, then you can just stick in all months. Okay, and then afterwards, the user can click in calculate the investable fund. Okay, so based on the investable fund, so what the app will do is that it will calculate the investable fund, which is 3,000. So this means that you can freely invest 3,000 with the certainty that your cash balance will not fall below 3,000 based on the income and expenses that you provided. Okay, then the app will also provide the cash flow table. So for example, for January, it will give you your cash balances at the end of each month. Then it will also give some statistics on your projected cash balances, your net cash inflow based on the income and expenses that you provided, as well as the annual income breakdown. So in the example, we only mentioned part-time salary, as the source of income. So your income comes from 100% from your part-time salary. And then for the annual expense, you only mentioned food. So 100% of your expense come from food. So, but you can freely specify as many income and expense items. Then for portfolio recommender, so for this part of the webpage app, you will say the amount that you want to invest. So for example, the 3,000 in your amount of investable fund, and then your risk tolerance score based on your responses in the survey. So for example, your risk tolerance score is, let's say, 21. So then you just click in recommend me a portfolio. So the webpage app will provide you with your suitable portfolio allocation based on the amount that you want to invest and your risk tolerance score. So for example, let's say with a risk tolerance score of 21, it will recommend you perhaps about 75% or 76% equities, then the remaining 24% in money market. But more importantly, it will also give you some statistics about this portfolio allocation. So for example, with 76% investment in equities and 24% investment in money market, so it will give you the exact allocation amount of the 3,000, as well as the expected annual return and risk of this type of portfolio, based on historical data. So for example, based on the historical data where you invested 76% in the general equities market and 24% in the general money market, we can expect an annualized return of about 1.51%, and an expected volatility or fluctuation. So you can think of the expected annualized volatility as the relative fluctuation in the value of this portfolio. So the volatility of this portfolio is 14.09%. Okay. And then it will also give you your return per unit of risk. So this is simply your returns divided by your volatility, which is 0.11. So this means that for every 1 peso that you're risking for this portfolio, it's actually generating you, on average, a return of 0.11. So that's for the portfolio recommender. And then for the portfolio simulator, so as mentioned, the goal of portfolio simulator is to simulate the movement of your intended portfolio, as well as to provide some statistics about its risk. So for example, let's say if you go back to the 3,000 amount of investable fund, and then let's say you're interested in equities, for example, AC Energy, maybe you invested 40% out of 3,000 in AC, and then let's pick a random mutual fund. So for example, maybe First Metro Save and Learn, maybe an index fund, Philippine Index Fund. So perhaps 40%. And then let's say the remaining, so we have a remaining 20% now. Let's say you invested it in a 1-year treasury bill. So for example, 20%. So after having provided this, and then let's say that you're interested in some other information. So for example, I want to know what's my probability of losing, because it's 3,000, right? What's my probability of losing perhaps 200 after holding this portfolio, for example, for 5 days? Okay, so after having this, after having putting in this inputs, in the web page, so it will simulate results. Again, the results are coming from actual historical data from Philippine Stock Exchange. So this is for the equities data, from Philippine Dealing System, for the bonds data, and for the Philippine Mutual Fund Association, for the mutual funds. So we have partnerships with the regulator. So just to ensure that the data that's coming into the system are actually real and trusted data. Okay, so based on this input, so it will show you how your portfolio will evolve over time. So notice here, 2019. So for example, if you hold this portfolio, let's say you've invested 3,000 with the said allocation, let's say before 2019, it can track, for example, how the portfolio value will change over time. Then it will also have some statistics, for example, on the annual return. So from this example, it's about 3%. No, because if you try to look at the graph, there's actually a sudden uptick in the portfolio value in 2021, and then it will give you your maximum possible loss. And then it can also provide some other statistics. What's the so let's say for the next 30 days, what are the likely best case for the fund and what are the likely worst case? So again, the source for this result are historical data. And then it has some other statistics. For example, the probability that you will lose at least 200 on day 5 is 4.6%. And then it will also give you some statistics about portfolio sensitivity. For example, if you try to look at its sensitivity with the dollar peso, so it means that for every 100% change in the dollar peso, so for example, there's a 100% increase in your dollar peso, you can expect a negative 45.96% decrease in your portfolio value. Meanwhile, if PSE naman increased by 100%, you're expecting also an increase for your portfolio by 46.2%. So from this example, you see that the portfolio that you've provided has some sort of negative sensitivity with the movement of the dollar peso and a positive sensitivity with the movement of the PSEI. Okay, and then finally, there's a devoted page for education. So here, there's some articles about importance of investment risk, what risk tolerance is, what are the different types of risk tolerance, budgeting, the importance of budgeting, diversification, retail treasury bonds. And then, so going forward, we'll keep on improving this web page so that to add more information, for example, no, about some other financial instruments, no, that are available for retail investors. So for example, if you're interested in mutual funds or any other types of securities, no, that are available to you. Okay, and then finally, if you have some other questions, feel free to reach out to the team. So in the bottom right below, you can see here phillysupport@treasury.gov.ph. So if you have questions, no, so feel free to reach out to the team. For example, if you have some questions about the functionality of the web page. Okay, so I think that caps off, no, our presentation for the newly launched Philly web page app.
Okay. We are now opening the floor for questions from our participants. If you have any questions, you can just type it in the chat box, or you can just unmute or raise your hand if our participants have any questions. And actually, we're not limiting the questions from participants, from other attendees as well.
May nag-chat sa akin dito, sorry. So, I
Okay,
don't know why.
go ahead.
May nag-chat sa akin na question. So, Paul, sabi dito, is Philly a web-based lang ba? Or it will be available like in Apple Store or Google Play? Kasi based daw dun sa percent, it's more like a parang nasa website. Thanks.
Okay, so thank you, for the question. So currently, it's a web page app, but moving forward, we're also looking into having it develop into a mobile app. But currently, it's on a web page app.
Okay. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, any other questions from other participants? This is your opportunity to ask any questions or to actually use this app for as a guide. Okay, wala pa tayong questions. Participants, any other questions that you may want to ask while we've got our speaker? Okay, Paul, ako may question ako. If this is not yet an app, how long do you think this can be applied to be an app? Since it's
So
more
now
accessible that way.
Okay, so thank you for the question. So currently, it can be accessed through web page, pero in terms of doing mobile app, so because currently we are still doing some partnerships. For example, we just had talk, for example, with GCash. So we're actually partnering, for example, when it comes to doing investor education. So currently, perhaps in the next few months, the focus will be more on awareness of the webpage app. But maybe we're seeing it in the second half of 2022. We are considering the possibility of making this a mobile-based app as well.
Okay, thank you. We will look forward to that. Okay. No questions from Equinox. Nice web app, by the way. Okay, looking forward to using this. We have some tinkering to do with the web app in order to get to familiarize ourselves on how to use it. Okay, any other questions? Other participants or any other attendees of our talk?
Hi, Paul. This is Clive. I'm from BPI. I'm one of the I'm part of the organizing team of the Mart Cup. I just have actually, it's not a question. It's more of a suggestion, possibly so you could enhance the functionality of your app. Perhaps you can also include the impact of insurance and insurance-linked products, because that's also an integral part of an individual's investment planning. So I noticed that you had mutual funds, you had, or possibly you could even include deposits if that's not already embedded in your system. But I think that could be a good enhancement.
So, hi guys. So thank you, for your question. No? So when it comes to insurance, for example, actually we're talking also, for example, to some partners, that can provide us not just, for example, with data, for example, about insurance products, but also when it comes to investor education, like posting, for example, additional materials on the importance of insurance. So definitely, this will be part of the future enhancements. And in terms of the deposits, so definitely, we're also trying to look, for example, for reliable data sources when it comes to deposits. So we're very welcome for this future of enhancement.
This is a very good application that you made, Paul. Maganda if you can get to tie up with some of the universities so you can roll this out. Actually, this will be very helpful for the college students, yung mga magsisimula pa lang magtrabaho soon.
Yes, true. Very true. Start them young.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions for our speaker? Or any suggestions that you may want to voice out as of the moment? Okay, going once for the participants, twice. Okay, if you have any other follow-up questions, you can just message any of us and we can relay all your questions later on. But for now, we would like to thank Mr. Paul Aliado for gracing us with your time and giving that very informative and exciting presentation. We will look forward to more developments for investments with the BPR. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now let's move on to the lecture series about ethics and code of conduct. This is very timely to our participants. Our resource speaker today is the trading head of Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation and has over 20 years of experience in the financial markets. Prior to this, he handled the interest rate risk division also in RCBC. Before joining RCBC, he was with Citibank, where he was the FX and rates trader. Joel is a mechanical engineering graduate from De La Salle University with an MBA from the University of San Francisco. Please welcome our participants. Please welcome Mr. Joel Manuel Cañiza, the trading head of RCBC. Hello, Joel.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello. Good evening. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Thank you for the welcome, Camille. Okay, so today we're going to talk to you about code of ethics. I heard from Camille that it's timely. You had some questions earlier during your session. First, when I was asked by Chris Arceo if I could give a lecture on code of ethics for this for you guys, I said yes, thinking, how hard can it be? I've been a market practitioner for years and should know code of ethics. But mahirap pala. Mahirap. Topic was so broad that I didn't even know where to begin. I asked colleagues if they had some presentations about the topic, but couldn't find one. There is a Treasury certification program presentation on the Philippine Model Code. That's what I call it, Philippine Model Code, but that covers a wide spectrum. And I'll leave that for when you guys do enter the financial markets, as that will be a required course. So I limited the topics for this one. I thought what would be the most relevant for you guys in the Mart Cup. got also some inputs from Lourdes of the Mart Ethics Committee, and so this is it. So to the Mart officers here, the brokers, I see some. Clive, feel free to chime in and comment or add your inputs. So first off, when I had to think of the word ethics, a lot of words came to mind. Oh, wait a minute. Let me share my screen. I forgot that. Sorry. Hold on. Screen share. Oh, I think you have to take out your screen share of mine. It's one participant sharing at a time. Okay. Hang on. Okay, see it? Okay, yeah. So again, when I thought about um, the word ethics, yeah, lots of words came to my mind. These words. There's fairness, values, honor, integrity. There may be more, but what do these words have in common? They're actually more of the same theme. It has to do with fairness and honesty. Actually, all these words can mean have the same meaning for each other. The way I see it, these words are deeply rooted on how you were brought up as a kid. The company you kept during your formative years, grade school, high school, college, barkada. It's all those experiences that build your foundation as a person. So what exactly is ethics? It's a set of moral principles that guide a person's behavior. It's always concerned with the good or what is right versus what is bad and wrong. It's always positive. It has something to do with kung ano yung nakasanayan mo. So if you were brought up in an environment where you are used to taking advantage of someone else or yung parati kang nakakalamang, I think you will find it difficult to relating to these words. The fairness, integrity, and those words. So all of you are familiar with Rotary International, right? I don't know if it's our generation or if you younger ones still know that. If not, you probably have seen their signs all over the metro, even in different provinces. And these questions are 4 questions that relate so much to ethics. It's the 4-way test. For sure, nakikita nyo to. Ito yun. Yan. Is it the truth? Is it fair? Will it build goodwill? Will it be beneficial? Yeah. So these four, this is a good foundation on where to start when you're faced with a decision. So you ask yourself these questions when you will encounter decisions that have to be made. So ethics is morals, correct? But how do they differ? For me, ethic refers to rules provided to you. Let's say code of conduct in workplaces, your principles. Oh, okay. I saw the comment, sorry. Or principles in association. Whereas morals refer to an individual's own principles regarding right and wrong. So both go in hand. So for ease, we will interchange these words here. So if you have screwed up morals, you will be hard pressed to follow a set of code of ethics. Yung sinasabi ko kanina na kung ano na yung nakasayan mo, yun ang parati mong dala. Yung bitbit mo yun kahit saan. So why a code of ethics? Well, we need to set professional standards and a code of conduct for market participants. We need to provide a reference for market participants to better understand market practices relating to the products they trade in. And you minimize disputes if you have these codes. And not only for the market, but each company, each institution, organization has some sort of code. RCBC, BPI, China Bank has its own, Mart has its own, schools have their own, even levels within institutions may have, like different school organizations may adopt their own code. There's a word a phrase that traders live by in the market. I'm not sure if you've heard this, but all market practitioners know this by heart. It's a guiding principle of every trader. Dictum meum pactum. So it's a Latin word, which directly translates as "my word is my bond." So remember that, my word is my bond. So it's a pact between traders that once a deal is consummated or done, it's a promise to deliver. We will never walk away from any trade once trade is done. Kahit matalo ka na, you have to keep your word. Remember, your integrity as a trader is at stake if you renege on any deal. So we're going now. Let's delve into the stakeholders on code of ethics. Stakeholders, the banks, traders, regulators, the brokers, professional organization. So in a bank, every bank must ensure that their traders are certified treasury professionals. In the case of GS traders, SEC licensed fixed income salesmen. It's stated in the model code. This comes from the model code that their bank management must ensure that only treasury professionals are allowed to trade. Market participants should be trained and knowledgeable on the standard trading conventions of the product they are trading, which they are expected to adhere at all times. So banks also, they'll have a compliance group, and they need to be abreast of any changes of the laws, regulations that govern trading. Each bank has its own code of ethics. Like I mentioned earlier, banks should identify, potential actual conflict of interest, establish Chinese walls between the traders and the deal makers. Because as traders, we are in the public side. We trade based on public information. The relationship managers or the people in the capital market side that delve into inner dealings of financial markets. They're on the private side. They have inside information on what a company is going to do, what a government institution needs to fund, etc. So yeah, there has to be a Chinese walls between both. Traders are stakeholders also. Kayo, the one joining the competition. You have to comply with regulatory requirements, the BSP, the SEC, all the laws relevant to trading activities. We have to follow trading conventions. We have to self-regulate. That self-regulation is based on your own morals. Remember that your responsibility as a trader is to the bank you represent, not necessarily to yourself. It's a representation of your institution. Regulators, the BSP, the SEC, they ensure regulations are set so that they to avoid abuse. Model code, the Philippine Model Code states there that the market professionals should comply with the regulatory requirements issued by the BSP and SEC relevant to the bank's trading activities in the money markets, FX, fixed income securities, and its derivatives. Brokers are also stakeholders in all these. Brokers are actually partners of banks, of traders in the in facilitating trades. They're also bound by rules of the regulators. What they do is actually they gather prices for market participants in order to show you the best bid and offer. This takes away the process of a trader calling each participant for the best price. So they're very relevant, especially in the GS market. Once you enter the markets, you will notice that most broker trades are most GS trades are dealt with a broker. Whereas in foreign exchange, a lot of deals are traded by direct calling. So another stakeholders, professional organizations like the MART, the ACI or the Foreign Exchange Association, the Bankers Association of the Philippines, CFA. So it's also, these are also self-regulating organizations where its members engage regulators on changes or clarifications of rules. They also bring forth, we also use these platforms to bring forth new products to the market to trade. Let's delve into now trading conventions, which is crucial in a smooth operation of the market. Clear and standard terminology needs to be used. So the dealers and the brokers are responsible for maintaining high standards by complying with market etiquette, which includes terminology. The standard amounts in GS markets 50 million pesos and $1 million in the FX market. And then the standard settlement date is T+1 or value tomorrow, value next business date. So non-standard amounts and dates must be qualified at the onset when you're asking for a price. Odd amounts meaning not the standard 50 million pesos should be specified by the bank requesting for a price. Same goes with non-standard settlement dates. Say value today or value T+2. You need to qualify that at the beginning. Let's say you ask for a bank. You say a bank. Let's say you ask for a bank for a price. Let's say FXTN 1067, and they quote you 6% on the bid, 5.95% on the offer. That quote is for 50 million pesos value tomorrow without it being specified at the onset. That's understood already. So di naman pwede yung hingi ka ng quote na let's say 1067. And when the price is given, yeah, 6%, 595, and then you say mine for 500 million. Di naman pwede yun. Medyo bastos naman yan. So if you wanted the price for 500, you should have qualified that at the beginning. So a price can be given for that specified volume. A length of time of a quote. That's actually very important as well. Length of time of a quote is literally seconds only. Once a quote is given, dealers should assume prices are good for a short period of time, especially in fast-moving markets like foreign exchange. Financial markets, it's very fluid, no? So prices change constantly. So di pwedeng babad yung quote. Kailangan you have to know that it's only good for a few seconds. We need to be cognizant of the prices of the commodity you are trading, especially liquid ones like in the GS market. Let's say RTB 5-15 is 5.15 to 5.05%. The 1067 is 6 and 5.95%. The 765 is about 5.5%. Because some securities are very liquid and often quoted, there are times when prices are interchanged. So if you get a wrong quote for a security, it will be good to inform the price maker that they may have overlooked the price. For example, you ask for a quote for 765. The quote you get is 5.55% and 5.5%. The quote, that's the market price, 5.55% and 5.5%. The quote you get is 6.55% and 6.5%. Okay, so what a good thing to do is you inform your counterparty. You ask them, friend, is your price correct? I asked for 765. And then more often than not, of course, you will realize that he quoted the wrong big figure. So yun yung parang there's a respect between traders. Also, once a deal is done, you need immediate confirmation of the trades. This instant confirmation is key so that you relay information right away. There's no discrepancies. And any differences is spotted right away. Say same example, 765. Given quote, you ask for a quote for 765. The given quote is 555 and 5.5, and you take this. You buy at 5.5%. After confirmation that the deal, that that the price, the deal is done, the price giver will usually say done, you immediately confirm the trade via chat to confirm I buy 50 million of FXTN 765 at 5.5% for value April 13, 2022. Take note that at the beginning, there was no mention of volume nor value date specified. But when you confirm, understood na yun, na 50 million, value tomorrow. So that's yeah, market etiquette lang. Now we'll go to trading terminologies. You probably used this already during the course of your past 2 weeks trading. So there's a bid and offer. This is the rate at which the quoting bank is willing to buy or sell the commodity price. Pretty basic. Mine is the term used when buying the commodity being priced at the offer rate of the quoting bank. Well, yours is opposite. It's a term used when you're selling the commodity being priced at the bid rate of the quoting bank. So if you're the quoting bank, you will buy at your bid rate and you will sell at your offer rate. If you are the asking bank or the aggressor, you will buy at the offer rate of the quoting bank and the bid rate, and you will sell at the bid rate of the quoting bank. When I was new in the market, I got confused with this, because when you're quoting, you buy at your bid, you sell at your offer, but when you're calling out, you sell at the bid, you buy at the offer. But I don't know, it's very basic. Done. The word done is used to confirm a deal, used to acknowledge the conclusion of a transaction. So after you're hit the price, a reply would be done. So indicative only, or indication only, it's used to describe a quote that is not firm, but only meant to show market level for reference. If the rate quoted wants to be dealt, you will need to affirm the rate before dealing it. And that brings us to the next thing, how now? That's how you affirm the rate again. You question again how the rate is now after a short period of time, after the rate has been put on reference. So you get a firm quote, how now? So off is a term used when the price is withdrawn by the dealer or the broker. Yung let's say matagal na kababad yung quote, pwede mo sabihin off, or the market suddenly moves and your prices are left there, you say off right away. And then if you want to deal that price, you ask again the bank, how now? That's how. So it's like a back and forth. My risk, your risk, it's a courtesy reply when a price is given but cannot be acted upon right away. So imbis na hintayin mo pa yung off, na statement of the quoting bank, you can already say my risk, meaning your price can change. I know that your price can change. I will ask you again if I'm going to deal. Okay, your risk is similar, but this one is when the price giver feels na his price given has been shown for a period of time longer than expected. So, ngayon nag-quote ka na, tapos walang courtesy reply na my risk or yeah, my risk. So instead of saying actually off, you can say your risk. Your risk, my price is here. It's your risk that I will move. So you ask me again if my price is still good. So that's some of the trading terminologies. Let's bring you to now the broker dealings. As I mentioned, brokers are an integral part of the market, especially the GS market. So we have to follow some rules of engagement with the brokers. These are just some, there may be more. Confidentiality. Of course, both the dealers and the brokers should share in the responsibility of maintaining confidentiality in dealings. In a broker-initiated trade, counterparties are not revealed until a deal is consummated. Unveiling of who is quoting or who the aggressor is will break that bond between broker-dealer relationship. Can you imagine if if a broker gives you, oh, si bank A, laki ng bid niya. So for you, you think, wow, okay, binibigyan ako ng information. But don't you think with the other banks, if you're also giving a price, they will also say it to the other bank. So it breaks that bond. Collusion. There's dealers should always avoid conniving with each other or involving the brokers to deceive the market, as it will disrupt the market equilibrium. Not only is this illegal, it comes with reputational and franchise risk for the bank. Let's say you have a sample. Let's say you have a significant amount of 10 years, 10-year security at a rate of 6%. Laki. And the pressure has been building in the market due to inflation fears, and yields have gone up to maybe, let's say, six quarter. So that's already 25 basis points you're losing. So you have a friend in the market, you have a friendly bank that you talk to, say, I'll post a price in the broker at 615. Can you take me at 615? And then after that, post the same amount at 6.14, I will buy it back from you. Sabihin natin 1 billion pesos. So I'll buy it back from you. So and then let's repeat it again at 6.11, I'll quote, take me. And then you quote it again at 6.1, I'll take it from you. So for your friendly bank, he's square. He's totally square. He doesn't have a position. He just did the transaction for you. He gains 2 basis points, the 6.15 to 6.14, and then the 6.11 to 6.1. So yun. But and for you as the one who requested it, the market is now at 6.1%. So instead of being mark to market at 6.25%, in effect, you will be reporting a loss of about 12 basis points only for your holdings at 6%. So from a supposed 25 basis point loss. So medyo pogi ka pa sa management, but of course you're doing things not the right way. It's not the real market. Another is stuffing. So stuffing is what happens when, let's say, a broker has a price or quotes a wrong price, and a dealer forces them to commit to the price quoted. So this is a no-no. Dealers have to avoid stuffing. Not only do you damage that relationship between the brokers, remember, brokers only earn commissions, whereas banks, us as traders, banks, we have unlimited gains, which we can make if the market goes our way. So we can absorb these deals if you don't. These non-deals if you avoid stuffing. Note also that when a dealer is calling off a price that you gave a broker, when let's say I gave a broker a price for them to show it to the market. If I call off the price and simultaneously the broker hits me, that deal must be concluded, because there's a little time lapse there between. But it's you the bank. But the other way, vice versa, it's not. There's no deal. Let's say if a broker is calling off a price simultaneously being hit by a dealer, there should be no deal. Because you have to understand also, the calling off of a price, the bank gives it to the broker will have to relay it to the market. And the time is of an essence. So pag broker ang nauna, walang deal. So you cannot try and stuff the broker with that. Entertainment. Very interesting kasi nawala na to. Nawala na to sa market, which is good. But nevertheless, there still is, but dealers must observe their bank's policy on accepting gifts or entertainment. Remember, there's a fine line between reasonable entertainment and an excess of of that, which will result in a bias towards giving deals to a specific broker. Market has changed the past 10 years. Previous practice, yes, so it's only 10 years ago, I think. Previous practice had brokers taking out dealers left and right. Like you could ask it from the brokers, they're probably tired going out maybe five or at least 4 times a week, trying to take out everybody. This was born out of the market having only one broker in the 90s to now having 4 brokers. So the BAP, the Bankers Association of the Philippines, together with the BSP, they instituted requirements that brokers now need to submit to banks on a monthly basis their entertainment expense or the gifts that they give to the traders. So that so it's not being abused. Now we'll go to controls. The controls are specific, but most of this is the market controls. First is know your customer, anti-money laundering. It's a BSP requirement where it requires all banks to have a policy of onboarding clients, which forms parts of their KYC and AML process. It also includes a credit approval process, the capacity of the counterparty to enter to different products as evidenced by the company's forge solution, all that. Off premises and off hours trading, banks now need to have authorization for this in place. So, dealers allowed, which products can be traded, the limits per product, per trader, and recording of transactions. The world is much smaller now, especially the financial markets, that you can even trade on your phone. So so that's why banks need to have controls in place for off hours trading. When I used to work in Citibank in the 90s, we traded 24 hours. We had a night desk. We had a trader on the dealing room. So in case we needed to trade, we could call our night trader, and he can execute the trades for us. He can call out in the dealing machines. Now, hindi na. You can do it from home. Bloomberg Anywhere, chats. Also, off-market rates. Off-market rates, it's not allowed dealing at off-market because you can hide. Apologies for my dog. I think it's calling me. So off-market rates not allowed because they can be used to perpetuate fraud or conflict of interest. In line with this, the banks or traders must observe rate reasonability rule, where risk management places a threshold from current market price of where you are allowed to trade. Let's say 1% or 2% from the market price. That's probably a good gauge. It also goes hand in hand with the SEC rule of best execution in relation to client dealings, which this allows putting an unusual spread. So it's actually in place to protect the customer. Parang DTI, market controls the market price. And deals also must be done on recorded lines, telephone, electronic chats, etc. So if done in a non-recorded line, the deal must immediately be confirmed on a recorded line. It's vital to avoid disputes in the future. Like I said, if you trade off hours of premises, you have to make sure that your trades are recorded via chat, or if not, you confirm it soonest possible time in a recorded line. Separation of front and back office, very crucial. Dealing room and operations department should be physically separated. Both processes need to be independent of each other. Imagine you as a trader, you have the authority to confirm your own trades. It will be so easy to hide a losing trade or easy to create fraud. We've heard stories of um, clients transact and they think their money is invested correctly because they have a confirmation. They got a confirmation from the bank, only to find out that the one they spoke to pocketed the money and sent a fictitious confirmation. There's actually a blind item now in the market, in the papers, where a rogue trader from a reputable bank has supposedly fled to Japan with as much as 100 million pesos in placements. So separation of roles, really important as a control in organizations. Actually, this is a whole different topic on operational risk, which includes theft and fraud, conduct risk, organizational change, data compromise, among others. So I've mentioned the Philippine Model Code in the course of this presentation at the start. What exactly is it? This actually short for the Philippine Code of Conduct and Market Practices for Treasury Activities. Yeah, the Philippine Model Code serves as a guideline for local organizations, the MART, the Foreign Exchange Association, to build and adapt in order to promote efficient practices and professionalism covering OTC, FX, money market, and their select derivatives. It's based on the FX Global Code and the BSP and a BSP circular of ethics governing Philippine financial activities. The model code was made by actually Roy Laksamana and is part of the Treasury certification program. And he has been running this for more than 20 years already. So it's all encompassing. It discusses business hours, personal conduct, front office, post-trade standards, practices, even security, physical security of the dealing room, all that. It's a whole bunch of topics. So from that model code, I've selected bits and pieces to form this presentation. The code even goes to talking about gambling between market participants, prohibited. Dealing for your personal account, again, not allowed. Spreading of rumors to influence market rates, of course, is not allowed as well, etc. So with that, I think I can end my presentation. I hope I have given value to you. And let me ask you this question to close. What are you to gain personally and professionally if you run over other people for your own benefit? You may look good, for the moment, but long term, you will not be respected. Remember that integrity is doing the right thing, even if everyone is not doing it. So, thank you. Do you have any questions?
Okay, thank you, Joel. We're now passing on to the participants. If you have any questions, this is your chance to clear up some of the communication misunderstandings in the course of your trading in the past 2 days. Yeah, so you can type it in the chat box, or you can simply unmute and direct your questions to our speaker.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Mabait din si Joel.
Yeah.
Favorite client.
Bawal yan.
Oh, narinig ko yan.
Favorite client. Pero hindi ko siya okay. Okay, participants. Any questions, especially with regard to the terminologies to be used in trading? Because we are seeing a lot of non-conventional terms that are being used, and also some clarifications regarding sizing up, quotations. Okay, we have a question from the chat box. Is it considered unprofessional if you repeatedly try to push a security on someone who has nothing on your offer?
If you try to push a security on someone who has nothing,
On
what
your
do you mean who
offer?
has nothing on your offer?
Maybe not interested in your offer.
Hard selling, is that what you're trying to? This is from Outsmart Trading.
That's it. In the yeah in the financial markets, no, in the interbank trading, once there's no interest already on your offer, we walk away from the conversation. Finished. Let's say my example. Let's say you ask for a quote for a 10-year FXTN 1067. The quote is 6%, 595, 595%, and you're the one asking for the quote says nothing at the moment. So, tapos na. We walk away from the deal. Done. Maybe if you as the one quoting you wanted to sell, since the conversation, and you can call them up and ask, what is your price? Parang reciprocity. So you ask me for my price, I call you up, you give me your price. So if you show a bid, let's say my bid is 6%, my bid was 6%, you show a better bid, let's say a 5.98 or a 5.97. So, yun, pwede kong bigyan yun. It's my prerogative also whether I want to deal your price or also walk away, say nothing. Thank you for your quote.
Okay. There's a Luis Mendoza asking, okay, unmute natin.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, go
Am I
ahead,
audible?
Luis. Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thanks.
Go ahead, Luis.
Thank you. So I just wanted to understand how acceptable is it in the fixed income market to use the quote's length of time to put pressure on the counterparty? So for example, if I quote, let's use a security that's not being traded in our competition right now, FXTN 2003, and then I say, for example, or let's say I quote something at 2%, and then if the person says, okay, I'll come back to you, and then is it acceptable to say something like, oh, I'll drop it by 10 when you come back?
Well, not you don't have to say it to him na sige, baba mo to lower than 10 by 10 basis points na. You don't have to say it. You just can end the conversation. And if they do have an interest, they'll call you back because they said not at the moment. If they call you back, you can drop your price. You can drop your rate already.
So it's like a convention already?
Yeah, it's because
Okay.
once they say already that nothing is done, they'll get back to you. That means nothing's done. You can change your price. You're free to change your price.
All
But
right,
not
thank you.
necessarily it will, but even if you change your price, it's not necessarily that it will be dealt. So you also have to weigh that consideration.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. For in the chat box, hello, question in the workplace. How do you deal with unethical workers or colleague?
Oh my gosh, that is difficult for me. If it's I don't know, maybe wait for end of office hours. Just meet him in the parking lot. No, I'm just kidding. um, I think as with everything, I think you have to act. If it's in the workplace, you have to act professionally. Kumbaga, there's the saying, take the high road. You know, wag mo na patulan. In the end, yeah, you will, even if nainis ka, you will be the better person. That's how I see it.
Okay. Does that
Maybe
answer your question?
I can
Sige.
provide some input. If you're that is dealing with a unprofessional, unethical worker or colleague. So
Yes.
since every bank has its own code of conduct, then he is subjected to the penalties that goes along with his whatever infraction he has done. Of course, if you're the boss, then you have to reprimand him. And if you're a colleague or is your peer, then of course, you can still talk to him because you're both professional. Both of you has undergone the same training, the same ethical training. So you just need to call his attention. Diba? And then, so para hindi na dumating doon sa, di pa.
Okay. There's
I think
another
to add,
let's
yeah,
say.
to add to
Go
that
ahead.
also to Chris's, yeah, that was in the workplace now. But if it's in the market, let's say you're dealing with an ethical trader, you're trading a participant in the market. Yeah, because and everyone's part of the money market association and all that. We're self-regulating organizations. We're bound also by code of ethics. You can actually report that and say, ba't ganito doon? But ganyan. Siya rin naman matatalo because kakalat sa market yan. Tapos kakalat sa market yan. Nobody will want to trade with the trader.
Yes, correct. And so we have an ethics committee. So to deal with those unethical work
traders. Okay, and hope we answered that question at Quinox Capital. So another question, I would like to ask how one can professionally end the conversation after having a long negotiation where we end up not accepting the offer.
Just say it's quick. We have terminologies. Just say nothing there. Thank you, and end it right away. Nothing. Yeah, just say nothing there.
Okay, pretty straightforward lang naman tayo dito. Okay, any other question, guys? To our participants, you will be dealing with a lot of other trading in the next weeks to come. So this is the perfect time to clarify. So we pretty much have to standardize how we communicate with each other. Also you amongst yourselves, especially when you're trading. So this is the perfect time to ask your questions and clarify.
I think
Anyone
there was
else?
also before the call, no, Camille. I think you mentioned there was a thing about sizing up earlier.
Yes.
Sizing up, yeah. So
It came up.
Yeah. So for sizing up, let's say sizing up means you ask for a quote from the broker, so let's say from somebody, and then standard quote is of course 50 million pesos, diba? Size up means you ask how much do you, let's say the quote is again 1067, 6%, 595%. Then you ask how much do you have at 595%. Pag sinabihan ka ng means you want to deal at 5. The fact that you already asked that question means you want to deal there more than 50 million. So if they show you a volume, let's say I can do 595 for 300 million. Mahiya ka naman, mag-trade ka naman. Not necessarily 300 because you didn't say it, you just asked how much. But for me, dapat more than 50 million because you asked for how much there. Now, if you wanted more, let's say at the onset, you say at 595, can you do 1 billion? Tapos sabihin ng bank sa'yo, yes, I can do 1 billion. And then you say, okay, done tayo for 100 million. Wag naman ganun, medyo naman para ka naman umatras nun, medyo nanliit ka bigla nun. Wag mayabang ka, panindigan mo, mayabang ka. Ganun.
So it's not, okay, ako yung magtatanong in behalf of the participants. So in that case, if they quote 1 billion, they're not necessarily bound to trade that much.
No, but if they ask for 1
ask.
billion, if they ask, can you do 1 billion there?
Yes.
And your counterpart says, yes, I can. Sabi mo, sige, 100 lang. Huwag naman. Pag sinabi mo 1 billion, you asked already 1 billion, kaya mo ba? Parang sabi,
yes.
Kaya mo ba yan? Kaya ko. O sige, dapat daan.
Dapat daan na yon. Okay.
Yes.
For participants, is very clear.
So
you cannot
Joel,
just say...
Joel, ibig sabihin markado pa. Markado, markado na siya.
Oh, yes. You can't naman,
Oh.
you can't say, yeah, can you do 1 billion and say, ay, sige natin,
100.
parang chinek. Parang chinek mo lang.
Chinek mo, so parang markado ka.
Chinek mo lang.
Kumbaga,
Oo.
among traders, we remember who are those ethical and unethical traders, and you don't want to
Yes.
deal with unethical
Yes.
traders.
And not only that, kumakalat yan.
Yes,
Kakalat sa market yan.
that's true.
Oo.
But it happens more than we think it does. But sometimes yun nga, nangyayari talaga siya. Okay, another question. Out of curiosity, I would like to ask both organizers and Sir Joel of your experiences dealing with unethical traders before, and how did you handle it all?
Personally, ako, wala akong, I never traded with unethical ones. Parang maybe there's once or twice, but maybe through a broker. Let's say I asked for a price. We're already dealing, so the broker is trying to arrange or improving our prices. So bigla na lang wala na, mag-off na, iti-trade sa iba. Magte-trade sa iba where we are already negotiating a price. Bigla lang, nothing, I sold it already. Let's say, sabihin na, sorry, I sold it already to another counterparty. So not directly, maybe through a broker. I think a lot of these unethical issues, I think, has come up with the brokers. Because they deal a lot with traders. But for those things, well, like what we said, no, you will be marked, like what Chris said. You will be marked. You will be remembered by the broker, by the traders. Kalat yung news about you. Yeah, and then pretty soon, aabot sa boss mo. So nobody will want to trade with the bank. So it's actually a sort of a franchise risk as well. So I mentioned earlier that when you trade, you have to remember it's not you. Right? Kano ka kayabang, hindi naman ikaw yun. You're representing the bank.
It's true. Okay, in our experience as Joel mentioned, as a broker, we have sort of encountered these kinds of situations. But in money market, we have what we call the officer of the week. So sometimes they intervene into these kinds of situations when it cannot be resolved anymore between the two counterparties. So we ask for the help of the officer of the week to resolve them, or if not, in our experience when I was still in the bank, kung hindi na rin ma-resolve ni officer of the week, the bank can actually put sanctions individually to that counterparty. Like, hindi mo na sila magte-trade, or if they encounter that counterparty in the broker, wala mo ng trade, so we will require a switcher. So we will get into that later regarding the switcher that acts as a counterparty broker bank between two other counterparties na hindi pwedeng mag-trade with each other. So yun yung isa sa mga experience with dealing with unethical traders.
Okay, merong question. May nag-raise ng hand si Outsmart
Okay.
Gabriel.
Yes, Outsmart Gabriel. Go ahead. Go ahead, Gabriel. Wait, sorry. Okay.
Hello? Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay na
Hi,
si
sorry. Okay,
Gabriel.
so I wanted to ask, is there like a professional way to, let's say, kumbaga, for example, I'm looking to sell, for example, let's say 100 million of 513, and I have two people who are interested. So I give them my my offer. Tapos one says, sige, I'll get back to you. Then the other one says, okay, sige, mine at your offer price. Tapos the next guy comes back and says, sige, we can do your price. Is there a professional way, or what's the proper way to say na, oh, sorry, you're late, or naunahan ka, something like that? What's the proper format for that?
Very good question.
Yeah, you can reply with that saying, sorry, dealt away already.
If you're taken already by the other party, you can immediately go back to the other party that says that hold your price. You said sorry, off my price, taken already, before he gets back to you. So immediately after you're done with the other party, go back to the other party and says off my price, taken ahead.
Okay, so yeah, thank you.
Okay. In the angle naman from a broker's point of view, you can split it. Pwede mong split yun. If it's your, based on your example, you quoted 100 million for both counterparties. So you can choose to split it 50-50. But if it's actually the choice of the trader, na quoting party, pag hinit ka on both ends ng pinag-quotan mo.
That's assuming that's simultaneous, Camille, ha? But if there's a lag,
Yes,
if
especially
there's
in
a
our
lag, then the first party to hit has the right to get the
Yes.
security.
So especially now that you're trading via Bloomberg, meron kayong timestamp doon. So you can assess, you can see there sino talaga yung nauna. Okay. Any other questions?
I have a question. This is
Okay.
this is for the participants who may be too shy to ask. What will happen if a team or a bank accidentally sells a bond that they do not have enough volume for? What is the correct way to address this, especially if the deal has already been done?
Well, that's a very good question, which I've encountered a few times, no? Because maling arithmetic. But one way is because I mean, your colleagues in the market naman, your colleagues in the market, you're more often than not, you know each other. So you can actually go back. The first thing you can do is actually go back and say, friend, I oversold to you. Instead of 50 million, I only have 35 million. You can ask, is it okay if we cancel the 50 and just do 35? Yun, pwedeng ganun. At kung hindi pwede yun, and they say, sorry, I already sold the 50 I bought from you. I sold it to a client. It was client based, so you can't. So what you need to do is you really have to cover it because you don't have any it's not allowed. Being short of a security is not allowed. So you have to go around the market. Well, again, ask the brokers because they're your partners. Ask the brokers if they can find you 15 million or a full 50 million. Just buy it back. At whatever rate. Kung patalo yung rate, I think you just deal it patalo instead of you being short. Another thing also is you can tap the repo market, of which the Mart will start to relaunch the repo market, where you can borrow security if it's a liquid security, borrow security and promise to return it after 1 month or after 2 weeks.
Okay, thanks, Joel. I guess for the participants, just be careful each and every time you quote. Kasi I'm sure in the midst of trading, baka excited kayo, tapos biglang ma-quote nyo, hindi nyo pala hawak yung security or hindi enough. So just be careful. If ever you make a mistake, unang-unang isipin nyo, dictum meum pactum. So you have to honor your word on that trade. So if it means na you'll have to buy it from the market at a loss, so be it. So be careful. Let's prevent that from happening in the first place.
Okay, from Team Hydra, is it okay to send offers of the same security to the other teams repeatedly but at different rates?
Is it okay to send offers of the same
security to the other teams repeatedly but at different rates? Meaning
Yes.
different
simultaneous.
simultaneous.
I don't see any difference. You can quote let's say 1067 at 6%. For 50 million, 6%. My next 50 million is 595%. My next 50 million is 592. I don't see a problem with that. What's not nice though is, of which I've experienced this in the market, the brokers know this too, there's somebody quotes 50 million, let's say 1067 at 595, gives the price to all brokers. Or let's say 100 million, gives the price to all brokers. 4 brokers yan. One price. Pero ang volume niya pala is only talagang 100 lang. So pag na-take na siya sa isa, off na siya sa kabila kahit sabay-sabay tinitake. So sabihin niya, that bank will tell the other brokers, ay sorry, na-take na ako. Diba? I mean, if you only have that much volume, you post it only with one bank or you show it only to one counterparty. If you're posting it in the broker and then somebody calls you, i-off muna sa broker yung price mo. You say, off, I'm trying to nego this with a client. So para if simultaneous yung take, you won't get short. You won't be short of a security. So you only quote what you have.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. Okay, another question here. What if simultaneous ang pag-off and ang pag-hit ng price?
Yun ang
Good question.
I discussed that. I discussed
Yeah.
that earlier. No, if it's a broker, if it's the price is in the broker, which more often than not it is in the GS market. So if a broker has a price that you want to take, you say mine, the broker says off, sabay. That's dapat nothing done yun. Nothing done yun on the trade. But if it's the other way around, you have a price. You have a price, and the broker is quoting it to the whole market, announcing it, and then the broker says yours or mine, tapos ikaw nag-go off. That's a done deal. Because there is a time lag between the other person and the other banks relaying the message to the broker and then relaying it to you. So pag nag-off ka, tapos nag-hit yung broker, that's a done deal. Remember, stuffing din yun. Hindi pwede, hindi pwede. Because the other counterparty will also say, hindi, done yun. Kinote mo ko eh. So parang, yeah. So it's remember, yeah, I said the brokers earn on commissions only. So stuffing is not is frowned upon. In terms of interbank dealings naman, it's very rare that you will have that because it's on chat. Most of the deals you talk to your counterparty in Bloomberg chat, in Reuters, and then if you have a quote there, tapos magmamine na siya, tapos type ka off, sino yung nauna? May timestamp yun eh. Can be literally second. So there's an audit trail for that.
Okay. Okay, another private question here. When should you execute stuffing? These are very good questions, guys.
You don't execute
You don't.
Okay. This is a
You
private
don't
question.
stop.
So, confidentiality na lang. Kasi, so, yun. So, I guess the question is, when do you stuff your counterparty?
Yeah, as much as possible, we avoid this, no. But there are also instances nga that like I don't want to say can't be avoided because I think everything can be avoided. But what happens with the brokers, kasi if they say they're being stuffed by a counterparty, a difficult counterparty, no, you have to honor the deal. But the broker on the other side, the counterparty, wala na, nothing because nag-off talaga eh. Pero sinastuff pa rin yun. Sometimes the brokers will go around the market to find the price for you. Remember, they're your partners, so they will try to find the price for you. They have, I mean, ikaw one bank, they're like 30 banks quoting. Kaya they will more often than not they will find the price. If they find a price that has a difference, they will, let's say wala na talaga, it's the end of the day, they will hit the price and they will reimburse you via check of the difference in rate. So pag ganun, medyo dapat as a trader, makonsensya ka na kung ginagawa na ng broker yun. Wala na, step away ka na lang. Sabi mo, no need.
Okay. Another question. What if you hit a price and the other counterparty does not confirm? Is it considered a done trade?
Uh, yeah, okay. If you say if you hit a price yours, tapos naghihintay ka, you can bell the person, you can call them up, or you can ask there, are we done? Are we done? Can you confirm I hit you? When again, and then like I said, there's a timestamp naman eh. There's an audit trail that you can see in the conversations that will see how long it took you to to uh, to to hit right away. I had an instance that I quoted. Balit lang naman to. I think it was T-bill. I quoted. Somebody asked me for a rate. I quoted the rate, and then naiwan because I left it. The market's moving. I didn't even notice it anymore. And then I think market moved. My counterparty, after about maybe a good 2 hours, hits me on the screen. Like hits me on the screen. So yeah, the conversation went like, I said, friend, you asked for a quote 2 hours ago. It's already the market has moved, so this is my new quote. Would have been would nice if you asked again. So that's I asked that also the time of the quote. It's only valid for literally seconds. So it's a courtesy to ask again. Let's say there's a price. How now? There's a price, and then there's literally seconds or minutes gone by. It's a courtesy to ask how now. Are you still there with your price? That's you can't just hit right away. So
Nice.
I just took it as the trader was new to the market.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct. So the proper way is if you want to hit a price and time has it has been about 2 hours. Sobra naman yung 2 hours.
Oh,
So
totoo yan.
the proper way is okay, 5:30, are you still there, or how now, before
Yes.
you hit the price?
Yeah, you ask again if the
You
price
ask
is still
again.
there. Yeah.
That's the ethical way. You ask again, how now, or are you still there?
Yes. You ask first before you actually hit. Especially pag na-stagnant na dun. Okay, next question. It was mentioned that the price is available only in seconds. What if it takes us a couple of more minutes to think about a price that was quoted? Can we reserve that price? Okay, this is a good question.
Reserve.
Reserve, yeah.
No, no, no. You just reply courtesy my risk, meaning I'm telling you I understand that your quote's there. It's my risk that I'm not dealing now. I will ask you again later. So the one who's asking for a price, takes a risk on not dealing at that minute or so. So you ask again, kasi especially if market is moving, you can't say can I reserve the price because another counterparty might be taking him on the other line if you say nothing done, and then he won't have anything to sell to you anymore. So yeah.
Yes. Okay. Another question. How can we respond if someone proactively asking a quote for a specific RTB or FXTN, but we can only do an offer since we don't have any allocation to bid for that specific bond?
Oh, wow, that's baliktad. Usually you can only bid, but you don't have anything to show because you cannot short the market. But this one you cannot bid, maybe because of I would think notional limits is being hit. So you can only offer. What can you do if you can show? You can, meaning you cannot bid. Is that the question? No, you cannot bid anymore. It's just an offer.
Yes, you have nothing to show for a bid.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
that
Yeah.
correct?
I've done that, but what I've done that on corporate bonds. Corporate bonds. Somebody asks for a price, a bid. I go back to them and say, sorry, we don't have our credit line is full for the name corporate bond. So yun yung, I mean, that's a good one. If your limits are being hit because you can, then means you cannot go over your limit, you can say that. Sorry, limit full.
Okay.
Or you can say, sorry, no bid there, but can offer at this price.
Yes. But for the purpose of the bond competition, as agreed upon, you
limit?
can, wala naman. Meron ba tayo, Mama Chris, na limit? We're
Wala,
encouraging
basta
them
may pera
to,
sila.
yes, wala. Anyway, we're not touching on the stop loss. So it's up to them, but we're not imposing.
Okay.
So yeah. We're encouraging everyone to post a bid and offer as market makers for all the participants. Yeah, and encourage namin for them to quote a bid and offer, especially when someone's asking. Okay, any more questions?
May
In addition
question
lang,
dito. Ay, sige,
in
sorry.
Sige, go
addition
ahead.
lang, pwede kasi if, for example, the calling bank says, bid your quote please for 100 M. Well, you can say, I can bid at say for 50 M and offer 100 at 395, something like that. So you can qualify naman. Walang pilitan.
Okay, Ray, go ahead.
Yeah,
There's a
oh,
question.
may private may private
Yeah, go
message sa
ahead.
akin, so ngayon
Yes.
ko lang nakita. Ito yung question niya. As a trader po ba, are they allowed to accept gifts, cash or in kind from clients?
Pag
Ay,
cash, medyo nakakatawa yung cash.
Ayun yung question niya. Okay.
Pag cash yata, no? Gifts, yes. Of course, pag Christmas, gift giving time there is. But I mean, kami in RCBC, we have to report all gifts that we receive from counterparties. We have a form. So I think most of the banks are like that as well. They have to declare what they receive. Now, if it's a big amount, let's say Christmas gift mo, PS5, I think that one, I think you have to return that.
Yes. It's an
Okay, thank you,
entire
sir.
Yung iba may threshold eh. I think it's about,
Some banks
Kami
have
1,000.
thresholds.
Kami 1,000 sa RCBC is 1,000 per
oo,
gift.
yun. So
Yeah.
anything above that
Should be
it's,
reported. Yes.
or it should be returned, or
No,
should not be
should be returned, yeah.
or
Because
not
it will,
accepted.
yeah. Kasi it will influence your decision making. Kahit na sabihin mo nga hindi. The fact that you got something big, you're gonna return that favor to that person. You're gonna keep all your deals there.
Yes. Also, from a broker's perspective, we brokers are also being constantly reminded by our regional offices to watch out for our entertainment and for giving actually online seminars for bribing and any other related matter to that. The gift giving, but no, definitely no cash. Never pa naman din namin ginawa yun as brokers to our clients. Except yung mga papiso-piso. Yan. So, mas watchful na ang market ngayon regarding the ethical issues that are connected to that. Okay, another question. What is the proper way to say that quotes are still open for negotiations?
Well, usually kasi when they say when you say my risk, you can leave the conversation open. You say my risk means I have the risk on your price. Can you wait some more? I'll ask you again. So yun yung that's basic courtesy. Unless you end the conversation with goodbye, bye for now. That ends it. But if it's my risk on your list or your risk, you can leave the conversation line open. Kahit
Or
matagal.
can I add lang? Or maybe is the question pertains to if the calling party is given a quote and then he wants to negotiate. Maybe he can say any improvement on your offer or any improvement on your bid. Can you do, can you show better? Yun yung mga usual na ginagamit eh. Can you show better
Yeah.
or any improvement? That could be the those are the jargons that we use. Does that
Okay.
answer your question?
I think so. Private kasi siya. So, sagot siya sa akin in a bit. Okay, meron din ditong personal question, but I will answer. This is directed as a broker kasi, but I will answer for everyone's benefit. Just want to clarify this. As a broker, are you allowed to have personal trades? Personal trades, do you mean we can buy and sell GS? Yes, we can, but we have to course it like a regular client of the bank. We have to course it through the banks. We cannot personally trade among each other. Yung pwede kaming bumili. Yes. As an individual, or if I have a corporation, if I own another company, let's say a small company, we can invest in government securities. We can. But in terms of like in stock market, na para in that context, no, we're not. Because unang-una, we don't have individually 50 million pesos to trade amongst ourselves. That's very safe to say, at least for myself. Sorry, Joel, you
Same
were.
also, same also for traders. We were not disallowed to trade GS, but when we do trade, it's arm's length. Actually, it's actually harder for me to buy government security in RCBC than it would if I buy it from a different bank.
Another bank, yeah.
Because of all the, you have to report it to our compliance. You have to say that you bought this. So
Yes. And mind you, for the participants, the quote, okay, ito pala, yan, ang tanong niya, as a student, can we invest on GS or corp bonds?
yes, you go to your bank, you ask daddy or mommy of the bank, and then ask for quote. Especially now that you have access to market rates, you can easily tell your relationship manager in the bank, bakit yan yung price mo? The market is this one, you're taking a big spread. Can you, there's a negotiation. Can you improve your offer? This is how much I have to invest. Can you?
Yes. You would, as students, you would find that the bonds, the quotes na i-quote sa inyo ng bank is different from what you're actually seeing in the market, because they have to take on some spread to cover for the costs of selling you a security. So as an exercise, you can try going to a bank and asking for quotes for government securities. So you can see firsthand how it is done. Kasi kayo ngayon nagtatrade kayo on your own amongst yourselves. So that's a good exercise to see magkano ang spread ng bank when you actually buy it, ng totohanan na, or when you invest on it. Or you can, as I'm not sure, but as in some banks, as little as 5,000 pesos, you can buy GS for yourself. Okay, other questions? Any other clarifications? I'm sure more will come in the coming days of individual trading. May nagtatype. Any other questions? Okay, eto, may tanong. In your experience, how many times, okay, this is directed to Joel. In your experience as a trader, how many times have you lost and won?
Oh my gosh. Very, very, very hard to count. But I think the number one that sticks out is, you guys, I don't know if you guys were born, it's the 1997 Asian financial crisis. I think that's the one that sticks out the most. I was with trading FX in Citibank. The rate then was about 26.40 per dollar. That was July 10, I remember. And we were holding short position in the dollar peso. Short because the interest rate differential between the US dollar and the peso at the time was huge. So people would rather hold on to peso and put that peso in kahit sa savings account. I mean, that's how it was. And then good morning, July 11, rate was already at I think at 28 or 29. So you're easily losing 2 pesos on every dollar, and quite lost a lot. And that was I think I was only about 3 months into trading then. So that was a baptism of fire. But it also was an opportunity. Believe it or not, we hit budget. That was July, and we lost a lot, but we hit the full year budget by end of the year. So give and take then. But yeah, very learning experience.
Okay. May follow-up question siya. During your times of loss, what happens?
Well, banks, we have limits, no. So we have limits in FX, in treasury. We have limits, product limits, notional limits, DVO1 limits. So we respect these. So whenever when we take a position and we're at that limit already, we can either stop trading, means we can't buy anymore. But if we hit our loss limit, I mean profit and loss limit, then that is a discretion. We have to report it to management of our loss, and we will take a management decision on whether the levels are still gonna, for rates are still gonna go up, that we need to cut our position, or if levels you think are gonna correct already, you hold on to the position, and there's a collective decision on whether to hold on to it because the market will recover. So there's a process to that. And as a trader, whenever we go into a trade, we always know our exit. There is one thing as you call a stop loss level. That if you hit that, out ka na. Huwag ka na don't even think of ay mababawi ko yan. Because if you do that, don't fall in love with your position. Because if you fall in love with your position, you will not be able to recover. So kailangan disciplined trader has to have a stop loss level every time.
Okay, hope that answers your question. Okay, another one, is there a specific number of attempts we could try to offer? Or if they said nothing, we should no longer try to convince them?
No, there's no set limit on trying to negotiate. So what it is, you just negotiate the deal. You just come back. If you say nothing, you can immediately say, can offer you better, or can pay you better. So yun, you can do that.
Okay.
Pag nothing ulit, sabi mo, what level are you looking at to buy? What level are you looking at to sell? Because maybe may interest ka rin naman, di ba, as a calling bank.
Try and try lang. There's always a way to do it na hindi ka mukhang makulit, or yes.
Correct.
Okay. Follow-up question, do you have any memorable trading experience during the COVID crash?
To be honest, COVID crash. I won't see it as a crash because rates went down tremendously 2020. It went up only briefly in March when the lockdown happened, but that posed an opportunity. I think all the banks earned money 2020 with the rates going down from about easily 200 basis points. So yeah, so that's a memorable one with the government actually active, wanting to control the rates, by BSP actually active in the GS market, that they were buying rates to control it. That was yeah. So that was it.
Okay. Another question, what happens if you don't meet your budget for the year? Do you lose your job?
No, you don't lose your job. You uh it's hard in the rates market, no, because in the especially fixed income you can short it. Unlike the foreign exchange market, rates go up, rates go down. You can actually you can earn profit in that. In the GS, it's only one side. You only earn when yields are going down. Um, no, you don't lose your job, but you probably won't get an increase. You probably won't get a bonus. But yeah, it's yeah, they'll adjust your budget. You have to make it next year. The thing kasi with treasury, they look at it as a whole thing, no. I mean, sometimes rates are down, but your FX earns a lot. There's a year naman FX is down, rates go up, rates earn a lot naman. So yearly there's a balance.
I'd like to add there, Joel and Cams. I guess they're all wondering kung meron bang natanggal ng trabaho dahil sa trading.
Yeah.
Parang
This
ganun,
one
yun ang
question
gusto
I
niya
will
malaman eh.
Yeah, I
Actually,
think so.
siguro what I'd like to highlight here is treasury trading is an inherently risky business, and the board of directors, the owners, the shareholders, they're cognizant of that. That's why they give us limits. They understand na, and they realize and they recognize na it's possible to make money in the financial markets. But then again, yun na nga, they give us limits such that when we trade and we possibly lose money, it's not in a level na ikababagsak ng bangko. Okay, actually, you will not get fired for losing money, but you will get fired for doing something illegal. That's something very against rules, trading rules, yung mga market manipulation, kung narinig niyo yung mga terms na yan, those are taken very seriously, at you can lose your job because of that. But again, in terms of yung kung ikababagsak ng bangko, yun na nga, we have controls in place, we have limits in place to prevent that from happening. And do note na kunwari natatalo ang mga posisyon ng mga trader, hindi lang naman trading ang business ng bangko. Very well diversified ang business ng lahat ng mga bangko. There's the lending business, the trust business, the fee-based businesses. So at the end of the day, there are other sources of income that can potentially offset losses in other businesses of the bank. So yun, to answer your question, hindi madaling bumagsak ang mga bangko because banks are very well diversified in terms of streams or sources of income.
Okay.
Tama yan. So sinabi ni Clive ba, tama, you will not lose your job for losing money. You will actually lose your job more if you bust your limits.
Yes.
Let's say ang limit
True.
mo is you can hold on to 20 billion of bonds. Mo ibili ka, nasa 30 billion ka na, tapos natalo ka, patay ka talaga dyan. Kahit kumita ka actually sa 30 billion, na hawak mo limit mo 20 billion.
Yes, that's true. Okay. Another one. So no worries for similar situations like in the 2008 financial crisis where banks were over leveraged.
Well, as what Clive said, no, yeah, over leverage, yes, true. But you were within your limits. Eh. The bank allowed that. The bank allowed you to trade in those CLOs, yung mga ganyan. So may limits in place yan. So mawawala ka ng trabaho if the bank itself, yeah, cannot operate anymore. Like Lehman Brothers. And they closed down. Yeah. So you don't have a job. But if you're within bank gave you these limits to trade, yes, you should be okay.
Okay. ito, may disclaimer na siya. It's a personal question. Do traders fight a lot? And in your experience, Sir Joel, have you ever fought with any other trader?
No. Walang ganyan.
Suntukan daw.
Walang ganyan. May
Personal question
now,
naman.
no, I think now I think it's very market is well, I would
May-
before
sorry.
also is professional, but more
May
I think
experience
more so
ako.
before. Ah,
May
Ano na?
experience si Miss
Si Miss
Chris.
Experience
Minsin.
ako, pero ano siya, foreign trader. Kasi
Foreign
tinawag
trader.
foreign trader. Ayun naman, foreign trader, wala naman silang, hindi sila mabait, di ba? Kasi I was still trading a dollar bond. So,
okay, ROP.
we had a deal through the broker, okay? But prior to that, I told the broker that I'm not dealing with that bank because we cut the line. They have another issue with us. So I told them that I will not deal with that bank. But the broker forgot. And then I reminded, no deal with that bank. So the trader thought that I reneged on our deal. But I don't know who the trader, I mean, I just know the bank. I don't know who the trader is. So he called me directly to the phone and he was, berating me, saying, why did you renege? Said ko. But then I had to be firm that I told the broker prior, way before, that our lines are cut. So, pero yeah, talagang he
Pinaswitch mo na lang kay Joel.
But that was too long ago. He's that He's and this trader is very notorious.
Oh,
He's really
Bizbuzz yan.
an a-hole trader. But we
I think-
finally met face to face.
Ano nangyari?
Wala, he
Mga
was he was apologetic.
Very,
And then at that
okay.
time I was pregnant. Grabe Naaway niya ako.
Oh wow. I think now not so much as before.
Wala
I think
nang ganon.
before. Yeah, I think before kasi the stories I hear from the others is because they used to use telephone lines. So pag kakainitan, biglang sisigawan, tapos pagsaka ng telepono. I don't know if you guys have been to a dealing room. If you notice, the telephones in the dealing room have a handset that's really heavy, parang heavy duty, even up to this day, still heavy duty. I think it's for that purpose, because traders smash the phones on the desk. So yun na yun. Now kasi I mean, it's always on chat na. So I mean, you can't read emotions through chat anymore. By the time you see each other in a what do you call that, a social event, wala na, you're calm already, you're okay.
Okay, so it doesn't happen naman as much to the one who asked the question. Okay, another one. Is it unprofessional to use characters or emoji on Bloomberg IB?
Oh, good one. I don't know. Maybe it's my age. So maybe
yes, we're dealing with a lot younger demographic dito So is it unprofessional?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Except lang, guys, of course, we keep it professional, keep it proper.
As long as yung emoji niya is
no profanities. Yeah.
Oo, yeah, ganon.
So you can
Kasi I also
smiley.
Yeah. Kasi I deal with before I deal with the institutional buyers or the clients and they do a lot of
yes,
emojis.
So wag lang guys, wag lang mga students na profanities or anything improper. So smileys are okay. Crying emoji if hindi kayo naka-trade or hindi kayo Jeje talk is really not professional. So walang ganon. Yung mga crying emoji, kung hindi kayo na done or ganon. Actually, it really depends on the counterparty you're talking to. So the more that you know them, the more that you can be more flexible on how you're supposed to communicate. Okay. Wait to know. Okay, so for emoji na yung sagot niya. Nung nag-ask ng question. Okay, any more questions? Learned a lot from the session. Thank you very much. Oh, ito, may affirmation tayo, Joel. Ang pogi naman ni Sir Joel.
Ayun, no? Salamat.
Yes, to everyone's information, Joel is one of the most good-looking
Ay, nako.
traders.
Wala, kumakinig
Totoo
ka.
yan. Totoo yan. One of
Ay,
the
may
most
personal message.
good-looking.
Ba't ba nagme-message sa akin tomorrow?
Yeah, go ahead.
Pwede po bang makuha yung email address ni Sir Joel for other
For what?
Questions?
for ethics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions. Okay.
Sige.
Okay po.
Yeah, tatype ko dito. Hold on, ha?
Yeah.
You
Sige.
Okay,
can,
for everyone.
Okay,
hold on,
yes.
ha? Let
You can
me-
use the guys, yung
Yeah.
chat box natin. Thanks.
Yeah, you can email.
Ray, hindi naman ikaw yan. Hindi naman si Asia.
Hindi, ito eh.
Yan,
Participant
yan.
natin to, madam.
Okay, participants.
Okay.
Ay,
Wala na.
Participants.
Non-participant pala, sorry.
Okay.
Baka
mamaya si
Non-participant. Okay.
Baka nahihiya lang siyang...
Okay. To the attendees, please limit your questions to our speaker to questions regarding ethics and code of conduct lang, ha? No, any...
Ethics nga yung topic eh. So, ethics.
You should be ethical and proper in your conduct when asking questions to our speaker. Any other questions from our participants? Okay, may nagta-type na. I guess we're gonna answer a couple more. Our host has been very gracious into answering. Okay, eto. Which do you think has a worst outcome from GS? In question niya, you mentioned that in the Asian financial crisis, FX was badly hit, but in your experience, which is more traumatic, yung 1997 Asian financial crisis or the 2008 global financial crisis? It's a good question.
Good question. I think 2008 global financial crisis, because that involved I think the whole market, not only remember 97 was just Asia, was only concentrated in Asia, whereas 2008 everybody was affected. So I guess the 2008 was worse. All markets, I think.
Okay. Okay, ito. Okay. Are personal relationships allowed amongst traders and amongst brokers?
Oh naman. Dami niyan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yun yung question, is it ethical to have a personal relationship with? Are you asking for to the questioner, are you asking for a romantic relationship? Yes, yes.
I don't think it's disallowed, diba?
Yeah.
Ang ano lang is if it's within the same I would think within the same company, within the same department, I think banks or banks will have rules against that. But in terms of having, I mean, a blossoming one when you're in the market, but I don't think it's frowned upon. It's fine.
Yes, for the participants' info, there are many families born out of market
Yes.
interactions and happily married families and children born out of relationships in the market. But yes,
It all
that's correct.
depends on the policy of the bank.
Yes, of the institution. So
Of the
sometimes they
institution.
allow. So they sometimes they allow married couples to be in one institution but not the same department. But some banks disallow it altogether. So one has to leave. I know some banks that are actually strict about that, but some okay lang na same bank but different departments. Okay. Any more questions or clarifications? So you have Joel's email if you have any more follow-up questions. And I'm guessing you really learned a lot from this session. Okay, going once, guys, twice. Kung wala na kayong questions. Thank you, Sir Joel.